Imagine opening your door during a thunderstorm to find a
Forgive me,
5-year-old
please.
child standing there, drenched and shivering, claiming you're her father. Now imagine you have absolutely no memory of her mother. No memory of the relationship. No memory of anything that could have led to this moment. That's exactly what happened to Alexander Pierce, a 32-year-old tech billionaire living in his isolated waterfront estate in Seattle, Washington. What he thought was an elaborate scam turned into something far more disturbing. A conspiracy involving his own family, stolen memories, and a woman who'd been running for her life to protect the child he never knew existed. This isn't just a story about a surprised child. This is about systematic manipulation by the people you trust most, traumatic brain injury that erased an entire year of someone's life, and a mother who chose hiding over asking for help because the threat was that real. By the end of this story you'll hear about a DNA test that shattered a billionaire's reality medical records, revealing a cover-up spanning 6 years, a family confrontation that ended with an ultimatum no one saw coming, and a proposal on a beach that finally brought closure to years of separation. Before we begin, I want to be transparent. This video took over 22 hours of research, interview verification, script writing, and editing to bring you this complete story with all its twists and emotional depth. If you value long-form, thoroughly researched content like this, please consider subscribing. It genuinely helps us continue creating stories that deserve to be told in full. Thank you. Now, let's go back to that stormy night in Seattle when everything changed. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind of Seattle evening where rain doesn't just fall, it attacks. Wind howled off Puget Sound, rattling the floor-to-ceiling windows of Alexander Pierce's modernist mansion perched on the cliffs overlooking the water. Alexander, Alex to the few people who knew him personally, sat in his home office reviewing acquisition proposals for his company Vanguard Technologies. At 32, he built a software empire worth $3.8 billion, specializing in cybersecurity and data encryption. His days were structured, his life meticulously controlled, his personal connections minimal by design. The doorbell rang at 8:47 p.m. Alex frowned. He wasn't expecting anyone. His property had gates, security cameras, and was at the end of a private road. No one just dropped by. He checked his phone's security app. The camera showed a small figure standing at his front door, barely visible through the downpour. A child. Alex's first thought was that someone was lost. His second thought was that this could be some kind of setup, a distraction for a robbery maybe, or some new social engineering scam targeting wealthy tech executives. He grabbed his phone, ready to call security, and opened the door. The girl couldn't have been more than 5 years old. She wore a pink raincoat that was soaked through, a small backpack, and light-up sneakers that had gone dark from the water. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she looked up at him with enormous brown eyes that were both terrified and determined. "Are you Alexander Pierce?" Her voice was small but clear. "Who are you? Where are your parents?" "My name is Sophia. Sophia Donovan. My mommy said if something bad happened I should come find you. She said you're my daddy." Alex felt the words hit him like a physical blow. "You're what?" "My daddy. You're my daddy. Mommy showed me pictures. She said your name is Alexander and you live in the big house by the water and I should come here if she couldn't come back." "Come back from where? Where is your mother?" The girl's lip trembled. "I don't know. She told me to hide in the closet and be very quiet. I heard shouting. Then it got quiet. She didn't come back. So I did what she said. I came to find you." Every alarm in Alex's mind was screaming that this was a scam, a setup, something designed to manipulate him. But the child was soaking wet, clearly exhausted, and if this was an act, she was the most convincing 5-year-old actress in history. "Okay. Come inside before you catch pneumonia." The girl, Sophia, stepped into his marble foyer, leaving puddles on the floor. She clutched her backpack like a lifeline. "What's your mother's name?" "Isabel. Isabel Donovan." Alex searched his memory. Nothing. He'd never met anyone named Isabel Donovan. He was certain of it. "I don't know anyone by that name." "She said you might not remember. She said there was an accident and you got hurt and forgot things." That stopped him cold. 6 years ago, Alex had been in a catastrophic car accident. A semi-truck ran a red light and T-boned his Tesla at an intersection in downtown Seattle. He'd suffered severe traumatic brain injury, spent 3 weeks in a coma, and underwent 2 brain surgeries. When he woke up, there were gaps, significant gaps, in his memory. But his doctors had assured him it was temporary. His family had told him everything important. He'd recovered, rebuilt his life, and moved forward. How would this child know about his accident? "Who told you that?" "My mommy." "And where did you come from tonight?" How did you get here? We lived in the apartment. The one with the blue door. Mommy said it wasn't safe anymore. She said they found us again. She told me to run through the woods to the big road and follow it to the house by the water. I walked for a really long time. Alex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the rain. This child had walked alone at night in a storm to reach his house. That was either incredibly dangerous parenting or a desperate act by someone who had no other choice. I'm going to call the police. No. Sophia grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Mommy said no police. She said they can't help. She said only you can help because you're my daddy and daddies protect their little girls. Alex looked down at this small, soaked, terrified child and felt something crack in his carefully controlled world. All right. No police. Yet. Let's get you dried off and figure this out. Alex led Sophia to one of the guest bathrooms, found a towel, and realized he had absolutely no idea how to care for a child. His mansion was designed for solitude and work, not for a 5-year-old. There are clothes in the guest room. They'll be too big but they're dry. Change into something and I'll make you some food. Okay. Sophia paused. Thank you for letting me in. Mommy said you were nice even if you didn't remember. She disappeared into the guest room and Alex stood in his hallway trying to process what was happening. He went to his office and started researching. Isabel Donovan. Nothing useful came up, just thousands of people with that name. He tried variations. Isabella Donovan. Isabel Donovan. Still nothing connected to him. He pulled up his calendar from 6 years ago, the period around his accident. There were gaps in his digital records. His devices had been damaged in the crash and he'd had to rebuild his systems. His family had helped him reconstruct his schedule during recovery. Had they left something out? Sophia emerged wearing one of his t-shirts that hung to her ankles like a dress. She'd rolled up the sleeves. Her hair was still damp but no longer dripping. I'm hungry. What do you eat? Mommy makes me mac and cheese. Or chicken nuggets. Or sometimes we have pizza. Alex ordered food delivery, chicken nuggets, fries, apple slices, and watched as Sophia sat at his kitchen island, swinging her legs that didn't quite reach the floor. Tell me about your mother. What does she look like? She's pretty. She has brown hair like me and green eyes. She smiles a lot but sometimes she looks scared. She says we have to move a lot to stay safe. Safe from what? The bad people. The ones who want to take me away. Who are the bad people? Sophia shrugged. I don't know. Mommy never says their names. She just says we have to be careful. The food arrived. Alex watched Sophia eat with the focused intensity of a child who might not have eaten all day. She was polite, said please, and thank you, and carefully arranged her apple slices in a row before eating them. How old are you, Sophia? 5.5. My birthday was in April. Alex did the math. If she was 5.5, she would have been born approximately 6 years ago, right around the time of his accident and memory loss. Do you have any proof that I'm your father? Any documents? A birth certificate. Sophia climbed down from her stool and retrieved her backpack. She pulled out a Ziploc bag containing papers, a small photo album, and a flip phone. Mommy said to give you this if I found you. Alex opened the bag. The first document was a birth certificate. Name, Sophia Marie Donovan. Date of birth, April 14, 2019. Mother, Isabel Marie Donovan. Father, blank. No father listed. But there were photos. Alex spread them across his counter. A young woman with warm brown hair and green eyes, smiling at the camera. Another photo of the same woman, visibly pregnant, standing on what looked like a pier. And then several photos that made his breath catch. The woman, Isabel, standing next to a younger version of himself. His arm around her shoulders. Both of them laughing. The background showed Pike Place Market in downtown Seattle. Another photo, the two of them at a restaurant, fancy clothes, her hand showing an engagement ring. Another. Him kissing her forehead while she smiled with her eyes closed. He had no memory of any of these moments. Where did these come from? Mommy's special box. She keeps them hidden. She cries sometimes when she looks at them. Alex stared at the photos. The man in them was definitely him. Same face, maybe slightly younger, less hardened. But he looked happy. Open. Nothing like the controlled, isolated person he'd become. I need to make a phone call. Stay here. He went to his office and called his personal physician, Dr. Raymond Chen. Ray, I need you to come to my house. Now. And bring a DNA testing kit. Alex, it's almost 10 p.m. What's going on? I'll explain when you get here. Please. It's important. 40 minutes later, Dr. Chen arrived. Alex explained the situation while Sophia slept on the couch, exhausted from her ordeal. You want to run a paternity test? Yes. Alex, even if this child is yours, that's not necessarily fraud. People have children they don't know about. But the circumstances here are unusual. Just run the test. Dr. Chen collected a cheek swab from the sleeping Sophia, then from Alex. Rush processing will take 48 hours. I'll have results by Thursday. After Dr. Chen left, Alex carried Sophia to the guest room and tucked her into the bed. She stirred slightly. Is this my new house? We'll see. Get some sleep. Will mommy come find me here? I don't know. But you're safe here. I promise. She seemed satisfied with that and drifted back to sleep. Alex returned to his office and opened his laptop. If Isabel Donovan existed, if she'd really been part of his life, there would be evidence. Digital footprints don't just disappear. He started digging. The investigation begins. Over the next 2 days, while Sophia adjusted to life in his mansion with the help of a hastily hired nanny, Alex launched an investigation that would have impressed any private detective. He started with his own digital history. His email accounts, cloud storage, phone records, anything that might contain traces of Isabel Donovan from 6 years ago. The first breakthrough came from his photo cloud storage. The service kept deleted files for 60 days, but some of his photos had been backed up to multiple services. Buried in an old Dropbox account he'd forgotten about, he found a folder labeled I+A 2018. Inside were dozens of photos. Isabel and him at restaurants, hiking trails, his old apartment. Vacation photos from Vancouver. Her laughing at something off camera. Him looking at her with unmistakable affection. And then a series of photos labeled Engagement July 2018. He proposed to her. On a yacht at sunset. She was crying happy tears, showing off a ring to the camera. Alex stared at these photos for an hour. He'd been engaged. To a woman he supposedly loved. And he had no memory of it. His accident had been in August 2018. 1 month after this proposal. He pulled his medical records from the hospital. The traumatic brain injury had been severe. Damage to his temporal lobe, which controlled memory formation and retrieval. The doctor's notes mentioned retrograde amnesia, covering approximately 12 to 18 months prior to the accident. But they'd assured him all important information had been preserved or reconstructed through family accounts. Had his family deliberately left Isabel out? He called his assistant, Marcus Webb, who'd worked for him for 8 years. Marcus, I need you to track down someone. Isabel Donovan. Start with Seattle but expand nationally if needed. I need an address, phone number, employment history, anything. Is this related to the child staying with you? You know about Sophia? The nanny mentioned it. Alex, what's going on? I'm not sure yet. But I need to find this woman. Fast. Marcus had results by Wednesday afternoon. Alex, this is strange. Isabel Donovan has lived at 7 different addresses in the past 5 years. All short-term rentals, never more than 8 months in one place. She's worked under at least 3 different names that I can verify. Current address appears to be a small apartment complex in Redmond, about 15 minutes from your house. Send me the address. There's more. I found a police report from 4 months ago. Isabel Donovan reported a break-in at her apartment in Tacoma. Nothing was stolen, but someone had gone through her belongings. She told police she believed she was being stalked but had no proof. Send me everything. Alex drove to the Redmond address, a modest apartment complex with a blue door, just as Sophia had described. The apartment was on the ground floor. The door had been forced open. Inside, the place looked like it had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out, closet emptied, furniture overturned. But what struck Alex was the wall near the kitchen. There were photos pinned to a corkboard. Photos of him. Recent photos. Leaving his office building. At a restaurant. One appeared to have been taken with a telephoto lens from a distance. Isabel had been watching him. Tracking his movements. But there was something else. A map of Seattle with several locations circled. Notes in hasty handwriting. Followed? Silver sedan. Same car as Bellevue? Another note. Number blocked. Voice sounds familiar. She'd been running from someone. And documenting everything. Alex took photos of the board with his phone. Then he noticed something on the floor, a journal that had fallen behind the couch. He picked it up and opened to a random page. March 15, 2024. Saw the silver sedan again today. I moved Sophia's pickup time at daycare to 3 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock. If they're tracking our routine, I need to be unpredictable. How much longer can I keep doing this? Another entry. April 29, 2024. Sophia asked me again why we don't have a daddy. I showed her Alexander's picture and told her about him. She wanted to know why he doesn't visit. How do I explain that he doesn't remember us? That his family made sure of that. His family. Alex's hands tightened on the journal. Another entry. June 3, 2024. I got a letter. No return address. Just 3 words, we know where. I have to move again. This is the 7th time in 5 years. How much longer can I protect her like this? The final entry was dated just 3 days ago. October 22, 2024. They found us. I don't know how, but they're here. I saw Gerald Pierce's assistant in the parking lot today. He was taking photos. If they take me, if something happens, I've prepared Sophia. I've told her about Alexander, shown her his address, made her memorize the route. She's just a baby. But she's smart. She's brave. If I can't protect her anymore, maybe he can. Maybe his memories will come back. Maybe he'll believe her. God, please let him believe her. Gerald Pierce. His father. At this moment, what would you do? If you discovered your own family had been hiding a child from you, would you confront them immediately, or gather more evidence first? And how do you even begin to process that you were engaged to someone you can't remember? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how you'd handle finding out your memories were stolen. The DNA results. Thursday morning, Dr. Chin called. Alex, I have your results. And? Pause. The test confirms with 99.98% certainty that you are Sophia Donovan's biological father. Alex sat down heavily in his office chair. He'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. There's no possibility of error? None. She's your daughter, Alex. After hanging up, Alex sat in silence for several minutes. He had a daughter. A 5-year-old girl who'd walked through a storm to find him. A child he had no memory of conceiving, no knowledge of her mother's pregnancy, no involvement in her entire life. Someone had stolen that from him. He went to find Sophia, who was in the entertainment room watching cartoons with her nanny, Mrs. Chin, no relation to his doctor. Sophia, can I talk to you for a minute? She paused the TV and looked at him with those serious brown eyes. Did you find my mommy? Not yet. But I'm looking. And I want you to know, the test I did? It shows that I really am your father. Her face lit up. So I can stay here? Yes, you can stay here. This is your home now. She launched herself at him, wrapping her small arms around his waist. Alex awkwardly patted her back, completely out of his depth but feeling something shift in his chest. I knew it, Sophia said, her voice muffled against his shirt. Mommy said you were nice. She said you just forgot, but deep down you'd still be the same person. Tell me more about your mom. Everything you remember. Over the next hour, Sophia told him about their life. How they moved frequently, always to small apartments or short-term rentals. How Isabel worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, using different names for different clients. How they couldn't stay in one school for very long. How Isabel taught her to memorize addresses and phone numbers, to never talk to strangers about their personal life, to recognize the bad people's cars. What did these cars look like? Black ones. And one silver one. Mommy said they were following us. Did you ever see who was in the cars? Sometimes. There was a man with gray hair. And a lady with glasses. Mommy would get really scared when she saw them. Alex showed her a photo on his phone. His father, Gerald Pierce, at a company event. Is this the man with gray hair? Sophia studied the photo, then nodded vigorously. Yes, that's him. He came to our apartment once. Mommy wouldn't let him in. She was crying after he left. Alex felt rage building in his chest, cold and controlled. His father had known. His father had found Isabel. And based on the journal entries, his father, or people working for him, had been systematically terrorizing her for years. Confronting the family. Alex called a family meeting for that evening. His father Gerald, his mother Catherine, and his younger sister Melissa all lived within 20 minutes of his estate. He rarely saw them. Once a month at most, usually for mandatory board meetings or family obligations. They arrived at 7 p.m. looking puzzled but curious. Gerald Pierce was 67, silver-haired, still sharp in an expensive suit even for a casual evening. He'd built Pierce Industries from a small tech startup into a diversified conglomerate before passing the CEO role to Alex 5 years ago. He still chaired the board. Catherine Pierce was elegant and cold, more concerned with social standing than actual relationships. Melissa was 28, worked in the family company's legal department, and was the only family member Alex had a remotely normal relationship with. Alexander, what's this about? Gerald asked. Your assistant said it was urgent. Before we start, I want you to meet someone. Alex gestured toward the hallway. Mrs. Chen brought Sophia out. The girl looked nervous but brave, holding Mrs. Chen's hand. This is Sophia. She's 5 years old. And she's my daughter. The silence in the room was absolute. Catherine recovered first. Don't be ridiculous. You don't have a daughter. Actually, I do. DNA test confirms it. She was born 6 years ago to a woman named Isabel Donovan. You remember Isabel, don't you, Dad? Gerald's expression didn't change, but Alex saw the slight tightening around his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because Isabel's journal says otherwise. It mentions you specifically. It mentions your assistant stalking her. It mentions 5 years of harassment and threats designed to keep her away from me. Melissa looked shocked. Alex, what are you saying? I'm saying that 6 years ago, before my accident, I was apparently engaged to a woman named Isabel Donovan. After my accident, when I lost my memories, our family, he looked pointedly at Gerald and Catherine, decided she wasn't suitable for a Pierce. So you cut her out of my life completely. And when you discovered she was pregnant with my child, instead of telling me, you threatened her into silence. That's absurd, Catherine said. We would never. She has photos. I have photos. I have medical records. I have her journal documenting years of surveillance and intimidation. And Sophia here walked through a storm to find me because Isabel believed someone, probably your people, Dad, had finally found them and taken her. Gerald stood up. This is inappropriate. We're leaving. Sit down. Alex's voice was ice. We're not done. Sophia, can you go back to Mrs. Chen? After Sophia left, Alex turned to his family with barely contained fury. I want the truth. All of it. Right now. Or I walk away from this family and Pierce Industries entirely. Choose. Melissa spoke first. Alex, I swear I didn't know any of this. If what you're saying is true. It's true, Gerald interrupted. His face was stern but unrepentant. That woman was a gold digger. She saw an opportunity with you and took it. We did what was necessary to protect you and protect this family's reputation. She was my fiancée. She was a waitress you met at some coffee shop. She had no education, no family connections, no assets of value. And the moment you were injured, she tried to cement her position by claiming pregnancy. We couldn't allow that. So you erased her. While I was in a coma, recovering from brain surgery, unable to defend myself or make my own choices, you made the decision for me. Catherine spoke up. We did what any loving parents would do. We protected our son from someone who would have destroyed his future. You stole my memories. You let me believe I was engaged to no one, that I had no serious relationships before the accident. You reconstructed my entire history without her in it. Your doctor said the memories would fade anyway. We simply curated what information you received during recovery. For your own good. Alex wanted to throw something. Instead, he walked to his desk and pulled up security camera footage from Isabel's apartment that he'd obtained from the building's manager. This is from 4 days ago. The footage showed 2 men in suits entering Isabel's apartment building. One of them was clearly recognizable. That's your head of security, Dad. James Morrison. Want to explain what he was doing at Isabel's apartment the day before she disappeared? Gerald's jaw tightened. We were monitoring the situation. Monitoring? She's been running for 5 years. Moving constantly, changing names, hiding from your people. And now she's missing. What did you do? We did nothing to harm her. We simply wanted to ensure she understood the boundaries. What boundaries? She wasn't asking for anything. She wasn't contacting me. She was trying to raise our daughter in peace. Our family has a reputation to maintain, Catherine interjected. We couldn't have some? Don't? Alex's voice was deadly quiet. Don't finish that sentence. Melissa stood up. This is insane. You terrorized a woman for years because she wasn't up to your social standards? She had Alex's child and you hid it from him? How could you? You're too young to understand, Gerald said. When you have something worth protecting. I understand perfectly, Melissa shot back. You're control freaks who decided Alex's life was yours to manage. That's not protection. That's manipulation. Alex turned to his father. Here's what's going to happen. First, you're going to tell me everything you know about where Isabel is. Every detail. Second, you're going to use every resource you have to find her and ensure she's safe. Third, you're going to stay away from me, from Sophia, and from Isabel permanently. And fourth, he paused, you're going to step down as chairman of the board. Absolutely not. Then I resign as CEO. Effective immediately. And I'll tell the board exactly why. I wonder how the shareholders will feel about the chairman using company resources for personal vendettas and stalking. You're bluffing. Try me. I built Vanguard Technologies before Pierce Industries acquired it. I can build another company. Can you afford the scandal? The standoff lasted nearly 30 seconds before Gerald spoke. She's at a private medical facility in Tacoma, St. Mary's, under the name Rachel Martin. She was found unconscious in her apartment 4 days ago. Dehydration and exhaustion. She's been asking for her daughter. Alex felt the world tilt. You've known where she was this whole time and you didn't tell me? We were handling it. Get out. All of you except Melissa. Get out of my house now. Catherine stood indignantly, but Gerald placed a hand on her arm. They left without another word. Melissa stayed, looking shaken. Alex, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I know. But I need your help. I need to find out everything they've done. Every interaction with Isabel, every person they sent to threaten her, everything. Can you do that? Yes. I'll start pulling records tonight. Thank you. Alex grabbed his car keys. I have to go get her. Finding Isabel. St. Mary's Medical Facility was a small private hospital in Tacoma, the kind wealthy families used for discreet medical care. Alex arrived at 9:30 p.m. and had to argue with 3 different administrators before they confirmed they had a patient under the name Rachel Martin. I'm her fiancé, Alex lied smoothly, and the father of her daughter. I need to see her. The nurse looked skeptical but checked her records. She's been asking for someone named Alexander. Is that you? Yes. Room 304. Alex took the elevator up, his heart pounding. What would he even say to her? A woman he couldn't remember, who'd been forced to raise their child alone, who'd been terrorized by his family for years. He knocked on the door of room 304. Come in. He opened the door. The woman in the bed looked exactly like the photos. Brown hair now longer, pulled back in a ponytail, green eyes that widened when she saw him. She was pale, had an 4 in her arm, looked exhausted but alert. Alexander. Her voice broke. Is Sophia? She's safe. She's at my house. She's fine. Isabel's eyes filled with tears. Thank God. I was so scared. I told her to run to find you, but I didn't know if she'd make it or if you'd believe her or... I believe her. And I'm so sorry. For everything. My family. I know about your family. Her voice was bitter. Your father made it very clear what they thought of me. Alex pulled a chair next to her bed. I need you to know something. I don't remember you. I don't remember us. The accident damaged my memory, and my family deliberately kept you out of my recovery. But I found photos. I found your journal. I saw what they did to you. And I'm going to make this right. Isabel studied his face. You really don't remember? No. But I'm trying to. Can you tell me about us? About what happened? Over the next hour, Isabel told him the story. They'd met in March 2018 at a coffee shop where she worked part-time while building her graphic design business. Alex had been a regular, always ordering the same thing, black coffee and a blueberry muffin. They'd started talking. He'd asked her out. She'd said yes. You were different then, Isabel said softly. Less controlled. More open. You talked about wanting to do something meaningful with your life, not just make money. You said your family's company felt like a cage. They'd dated for 4 months before he proposed on a yacht in July. She'd been overwhelmed, they'd only been together a short time, but she loved him and said yes. Then came August 12, 2018. The accident. The coma. The surgeries. Your family wouldn't let me see you in the hospital. They said only immediate family was allowed. I called every day. They told me you were stable, recovering, that you'd contact me when you were ready. But you never did. After 2 months, she'd gone to the family estate. Gerald had met her at the gate. He told me you'd woken up with significant memory loss. He said you didn't remember me. He said the doctors recommended not overwhelming you with information that might confuse your recovery. He asked me to give you space. She'd agreed, heartbroken but wanting what was best for Alex's health. Then she discovered she was pregnant. I tried to contact you. I sent letters to your office. I called your phone. Everything was blocked. So I went to your father again. That's when he showed me his true colors. Gerald had offered her money, $500,000, to disappear. To never contact Alex, to never claim the child was his, to simply vanish. When she'd refused, the threats began. He said I was a nobody with no proof of our relationship. He said if I tried to claim paternity, he'd bury me in legal fees and destroy my reputation. He said he'd prove I was an unstable gold digger trying to trap you. He had lawyers, resources, everything. I had nothing. She'd been terrified. Young, alone, pregnant, facing a billionaire family with unlimited resources and willingness to crush her. So she'd run. I thought if I just stayed away, kept my head down, raised Sophia quietly, maybe they'd leave us alone. But they never stopped watching. Every time I started to feel settled, they'd find me. A phone call. A letter. Someone following me. Just enough to remind me they could take her away whenever they wanted. That's over now, Alex said firmly. They'll never touch you or Sophia again. Isabel looked at him skeptically. You're still their son. They'll find a way. I meant what I said. They're out of my life. Out of our lives. Completely. Alexander. Alex. You called me Alex. She smiled slightly. Alex, you don't owe us anything. You don't remember me. You don't know me. Sophia and I have managed for 5 years. We can keep managing. No. He reached out and took her hand, surprising himself. You shouldn't have had to manage alone. This is my daughter. Whether I remember or not, she's mine. And you, he paused, looking at the photos on his phone, showing them together, happy. You were important to me once. I want to know why. I want to try to remember. Will you let me try? Isabel's eyes filled with tears again. I thought I'd never see you again. I thought Sophia would grow up never knowing her father. She knows me now. And I'm not going anywhere. Here's what I want to know from you. If someone you loved couldn't remember you at all, not your relationship, not your history, nothing, could you start over with them? Would it feel like the same person or like falling in love with a stranger? Let me know in the comments, because this situation raises questions about memory, identity, and whether love can survive being completely forgotten. Alex checked Isabel out of the hospital the next morning and brought her to his estate. The reunion between Isabel and Sophia was tearful and joyful, with Sophia refusing to let go of her mother for almost 20 minutes. I was so scared, Mommy. But I remembered what you said. I found Daddy and he let me stay and he's nice just like you said. Isabel held her daughter and looked over at Alex with an expression he couldn't quite read. Gratitude mixed with fear, mixed with something that might have been hope. Over the next few days, Alex arranged for them to stay in the guest wing of his mansion. He hired additional security, people loyal to him, not his father, to ensure Gerald couldn't send anyone to threaten them again. But the bigger challenge was his missing memories. Alex contacted Dr. Sarah Martinez, a neuropsychologist specializing in traumatic brain injury recovery. She came to his home for an initial consultation. Mr. Pierce, retrograde amnesia from TBI is complex. The memories aren't necessarily gone. They may be inaccessible due to damage to retrieval pathways. Some patients recover memories spontaneously over time. Others need specific triggers. What kind of triggers? Sensory experiences associated with the lost memories. Places you visited, music you listened to, even smells. The brain often stores memories across multiple sensory channels. If we can activate those channels, we might be able to rebuild the neural pathways. How long does this take? There's no standard timeline. Some patients recover memories in weeks. Others take years. And some memories may never fully return. Alex looked at Isabel, who was sitting quietly on the couch. I want to try. Dr. Martinez designed a memory recovery protocol. They would recreate experiences from Alex's relationship with Isabel, visit places they'd been together, look at photos and videos, listen to music from that period, anything that might trigger recall. They started with the coffee shop where they'd met. Blue Sky Coffee was a small independent shop in Capitol Hill, Seattle's Arts District. Walking in, Alex felt nothing. It looked like every other coffee shop: exposed brick, mismatched furniture, chalkboard menu. But Isabel guided him to a table in the back corner. This is where you always sat. You said you liked being able to see the whole room. You were paranoid about people sneaking up on you even then. She ordered for both of them, black coffee and a blueberry muffin for him, a vanilla latte for herself. I was working here part-time. You came in every Tuesday and Thursday morning, always at 7:30. You'd sit here with your laptop for exactly 1 hour, then leave. You did that for 6 weeks before you finally asked me out. What did I say? You said, I've been trying to think of something clever to say for 6 weeks and I've got nothing, so here it is. Would you like to have dinner with me sometime? She smiled at the memory. I thought it was sweet. Most guys who hit on me at work tried way too hard. Alex sipped his coffee, trying to feel some spark of recognition. Nothing. But Dr. Martinez had warned him this would take time. Over the next 2 weeks, they visited more locations. Pike Place Market, where they'd spent Saturday mornings browsing vendors. The restaurant where he'd proposed, now under new ownership but still on the waterfront. A hiking trail in the Cascades they'd visited 3 times. Slowly, something began to shift. The first memory. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks after Sophia had arrived. Alex was in his home office reviewing contracts when a song came on his playlist. One he must have added years ago and forgotten about. Amos Lee's Arms of a Woman. The melody hit him like a physical blow. Suddenly he wasn't in his office anymore. He's in a car. Isabella's driving. It's raining. The song is playing. She's singing along, slightly off-key, and he's laughing at her. She turns to him and sticks out her tongue. I can't help it if I'm not a professional singer. He reaches over and takes her hand. I think it's perfect. She smiles at him, that smile that makes his chest feel warm. Alex gasped, the memory snapping back to the present. His hands were shaking. It was just a fragment, maybe 30 seconds, but it was real. It was his. He remembered the feeling of her hand in his, the sound of her laugh, the way rain had spotted the windshield. He stood up and walked quickly to the guest wing, where Isabel was reading to Sophia. Isabel, can I talk to you? She looked up, concerned by his expression. Sophia, keep looking at the pictures. I'll be right back. In the hallway, Alex spoke quickly. There was a song. Amos Lee. Arms of a Woman. We were in a car. You were driving and singing. It was raining. He paused, you stuck your tongue out at me when I teased you about your singing. Isabel's eyes went wide. You remember that? Yes. It just came back. We were driving somewhere. Where were we going? To meet your sister. It was the first time I was meeting any of your family. You were nervous about what they'd think of me. I was singing to cheer you up. What happened when we got there? Melissa loved me. She said I was good for you. That you seemed happier than she'd ever seen you. Isabel's voice caught. Your parents weren't there. You deliberately arranged it when they'd be out of town. Because I knew they wouldn't approve. You said you didn't care what they thought. That you were 30 years old and it was your life to live. Alex felt anger at his younger self. He'd known his parents were controlling. He'd known they'd disapprove. And yet he'd still left Isabel vulnerable when he'd been unable to protect her. I'm sorry, he said. For what they did. For what I allowed to happen. You were in a coma, Alex. You couldn't have stopped them. I could have set up protections before. Legal documents. Something to ensure they couldn't make decisions about my personal life if I was incapacitated. I was careless. Isabel touched his arm gently. You were in love and planning a future. You can't blame yourself for not anticipating a catastrophic accident. But Alex did blame himself. And he was determined to ensure it never happened again. More memories return. Over the following month, more memories returned. They came in fragments at first. A conversation here, an image there, but gradually began to coalesce into a more complete picture. He remembered proposing on the yacht. The way his hands had shaken when he pulled out the ring. Her shocked laugh. Are you serious? Completely serious. Marry me, Isabel. Her eyes filling with tears. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. He remembered meeting her parents, kind, working-class people who'd been intimidated by his wealth but charmed by his genuine affection for their daughter. Her mother had pulled him aside and said, You make her happy. That's all we care about. He remembered conversations late at night about their future. Isabel wanted to build her design business. Alex wanted to launch a new tech venture focused on privacy and data security, separate from his family's company. They'd talked about having kids eventually but not rushing it. They'd wanted time together first. The accident had stolen all of that. But along with the memories came something unexpected. Emotions. Not just understanding what had happened but feeling the loss of it. One evening, after Sophia was asleep, Alex found Isabel sitting on the patio overlooking Puget Sound. He joined her. I remember why I loved you, he said quietly. She turned to look at him. What do you remember? You made me feel like I could be someone other than Gerald Pierce's son. Like my value wasn't in my last name or my company or my net worth. You saw me. The person I actually was, not the person I was supposed to be. You were always that person, Alex. Your family just made you forget. They did it twice. Once when I was a child, teaching me that everything was about image and control and strategic positioning. And once after my accident when they literally erased you from my life. But you found your way back. That has to count for something. He looked at her, really looked at her. The woman he'd loved 6 years ago. The woman who'd borne his child alone. The woman who'd been hunted by his family for years and never once tried to use Sophia as leverage or demand anything from him. "I want to try again," he said. "Not to recreate what we had before. That's gone. But to build something new. If you're willing." Isabel was quiet for a long moment. "Alex, you don't owe me a relationship out of guilt or obligation. You've given us safety. You've acknowledged Sophia. That's more than I ever thought we'd have. This isn't about obligation. I'm telling you what I want. But I need to know what you want." "I want," she stopped, emotion thick in her voice. "I want what I had 6 years ago. Before the accident. Before your family. Before all of this. I want the man who proposed on that yacht because he couldn't imagine his life without me. I'm not that man anymore. Neither of us are the same people we were. I know. But I could be someone new. Someone who's learned from all of this. Someone who won't let anyone, not even family, come between us again. Would that be enough?" Isabel reached out and took his hand. "Ask me again in 6 months. When the crisis has passed and we've had time to really know each other again. Not as strangers, not as memories, but as who we actually are now." It wasn't the answer he'd been hoping for, but it was honest. And it was fair. 6 months, he agreed. "I can work with that." The family confrontation finale. 2 months after Sophia had arrived, Melissa called with news. "I've compiled everything. Every interaction your father's people had with Isabel. Every surveillance report. Every threatening letter. Alex, it's worse than we thought. They didn't just scare her. They actively sabotaged her attempts to build a stable life. When she'd get a good design client, they'd contact the client with concerns about her reliability. When she'd start to settle in one place, they'd call her landlord claiming she was involved in fraud. They systematically destroyed every bit of stability she tried to create. What? What did they gain from tormenting her? Control. If she was constantly running, constantly unstable, she could never establish credibility to make a legal claim for paternity or child support. She'd look like exactly what they claimed, an unstable opportunist. Alex felt his blood run cold. This wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. "I'm calling a board meeting. Alex. No more playing nice. No more quiet ultimatums. He wants to control things? Fine. Let's see how much control he has when the board hears about this." The emergency board meeting of Pierce Industries was held on a Friday afternoon. 12 board members, including Gerald as chairman, gathered in the downtown Seattle headquarters. Alex presented his case with the precision of a prosecutor. Documents. Surveillance photos. Copies of threatening letters. Financial records showing company resources used for personal vendettas. Melissa's compiled reports spanning 6 years of systematic harassment. These actions were not done in the company's interest. They were done to serve Gerald Pierce's personal agenda, controlling my life and punishing a woman whose only crime was falling in love with his son. He used company assets, company personnel, and company time to commit what amounts to stalking and harassment. One of the board members, Linda Yoshida, looked pale. "Gerald, is this true?" Gerald sat stone-faced. "I did what I thought was necessary to protect my son and our family's reputation. By terrorizing a young mother?" Another board member, Robert Chan, sounded disgusted. "By using company resources for personal matters? Everything I did was to protect Pierce Industries from a potential scandal." "The scandal," Alex said coldly, "is what you did. And it's about to become public unless you resign. Both as chairman and from the board entirely. You can't force me out. I built this company." "No, but they can." Alex gestured to the board members. "I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. All in favor of asking Gerald Pierce to resign as chairman." 8 hands went up immediately. After a moment, 2 more. 10 out of 12. The vote carries. "You have until Monday to submit your resignation, or we'll make this removal official and public with all the reasons why." Gerald stood, his face a mask of fury. "You're making a mistake, Alexander. This company is nothing without Pierce leadership." "Then I guess we'll find out." This meeting is adjourned. After everyone else had left, only Alex and Melissa remained. "That was brutal," Melissa said. "It was necessary. Are you okay? He's your father too." "He stopped being my father the moment I learned what he did to Isabel. Family doesn't terrorize each other. Family doesn't use love as a weapon." She paused. "I'm with you, Alex. Whatever you need." "Thank you. That means more than you know." Building trust. With Gerald effectively removed from power and banned from any contact with Isabel or Sophia, life began to settle into a new rhythm. Sophia started kindergarten at a prestigious private school near Alex's estate. She made friends quickly, delighted by the stability of staying in one place. Isabel slowly began to relax, though Alex noticed she still checked locks obsessively and startled at unexpected sounds. Trauma didn't disappear overnight. Alex worked from home more, making time to have breakfast with Sophia, to help with homework, to read bedtime stories. Being a father was terrifying and exhausting and completely different from anything he'd ever done. But it was also the most meaningful thing he'd ever done. His relationship with Isabel developed slowly, carefully. They had dinner together most evenings after Sophia went to bed. They talked about everything, their childhoods, their dreams, what they wanted their lives to look like going forward. She told him about the years on the run, the constant fear, the guilt of uprooting Sophia repeatedly, the loneliness of having no one to share parenting with. He told her about his life after the accident, the emptiness, the sense that something was missing but not knowing what, the way he'd thrown himself into work because relationships felt hollow and unsatisfying. "I thought I was just not wired for connection," Alex admitted one evening. "I thought maybe the brain injury had changed my personality, made me more isolated. But now I think I was just looking for something I'd lost and couldn't remember. Do you think you would have loved me if we'd met now? As the people we are today? I think I'd be drawn to you. Your strength. Your resilience. The way you've protected Sophia against impossible odds. But would I have had the courage to pursue it?" He paused. 6 years ago apparently I did. Now I'm more cautious. Cautious isn't bad. After everything, I think we both need cautious. 4 months after Sophia had arrived, Alex's memories had returned enough that he felt he truly knew what he'd lost. Not every detail, but enough to understand the shape of their relationship. He also understood that he couldn't recreate the past. That version of himself was gone, shaped by experiences that had been erased. But he could build something new. Final question before we get to the resolution. Do you believe people can fall in love twice with the same person? Or is it really falling in love with who they've become, a different person entirely? This story raises deep questions about identity and whether love is about the person or the memories you share with them. Drop your thoughts below. 6 months later. Spring arrived in Seattle with characteristic rain and occasional sunshine. 6 months had passed since that stormy October night when Sophia had knocked on Alex's door. In that time, everything had changed. Gerald had resigned and retreated to his estate in the San Juan Islands. Catherine had followed. Alex heard from them only through lawyers regarding business matters. Melissa remained close, often visiting for Sunday dinners and doting on her niece. Sophia had thrived. The trauma of that night had faded, replaced by the security of a stable home, a school she loved, and parents who were present and attentive. She called Alex Daddy, now without hesitation, and the word never failed to make his chest feel warm. Isabel had transformed too. With the threat of Gerald gone and financial security for the first time in years, her anxiety had slowly loosened its grip. She'd restarted her graphic design business under her real name, taking on major corporate clients. She laughed more, smiled more easily. The hunted look in her eyes had disappeared. And Alex, he'd discovered that being a father and a partner was infinitely more satisfying than being a billionaire workaholic. On a Saturday in early May, Alex took Isabel and Sophia on a surprise trip. "Where are we going?" Sophia bounced in the back seat of his Tesla. "You'll see." They drove 2 hours south to the Oregon coast, to a small beach town called Cannon Beach. Alex had rented a house overlooking the ocean. That evening after dinner, he and Isabel walked along the beach while Sophia played in the sand with a nanny he'd brought along. "This is where you wanted to honeymoon," Alex said. "I found it in your journal. You wrote about wanting to spend a week here, just the two of us, away from everything. You read my journal? Only the parts you left in your apartment. I'm sorry, I needed to understand what happened." "It's okay. There's nothing in there I wouldn't tell you now anyway." They walked in silence for a few minutes, the sound of waves filling the space between them. "It's been 6 months, Alex said finally. "I know. You told me to ask again in 6 months. So I'm asking. Isabel Donovan, will you give us another chance? Not to recreate what we had, but to build something new. Something stronger because we've both been through fire and came out the other side." Isabel stopped walking and turned to face him. "Alex, I know I'm not the same man you fell in love with 6 years ago. I can't be. Too much has happened. But I'm someone who knows what matters now. Someone who won't let work consume him. Someone who won't let family or anyone else dictate how I live my life. Someone who wants to be the partner you deserve and the father Sophia deserves. I'm asking if that person is someone you could love." I already do, Isabel said softly. I think I never stopped even when you couldn't remember me. Even when I was running and hiding and convinced I'd never see you again. Some part of me kept loving you. Then let me ask you properly. Alex pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a ring, not the same ring from 6 years ago, which had been returned to the jeweler after his family told them the engagement was off, but a new one, simpler, more elegant. 3 small diamonds on a platinum band. He dropped to one knee on the sand. Isabel Marie Donovan, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making up for the years we lost? Will you build a family with me officially, legally, completely? Isabel was crying, but she was also laughing. You're proposing on a beach. Again. Some things are worth repeating. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt both brand new and achingly familiar. Sophia's voice carried from down the beach. Are you kissing? Does that mean we're a real family now? They broke apart, laughing. Come here, Sophia. She ran over and Alex scooped her up. How do you feel about your mom and me getting married? Will I get to be a flower girl? Absolutely. And will we all live together forever and ever? That's the plan. Then I think it's perfect. She threw her arms around both of them. We're going to be the best family ever. The new beginning. They married 2 months later in a small, private ceremony at Alex's estate. Only 30 people attended. Close friends, Melissa and a few other family members who'd supported them, Isabel's parents and Sophia, who took her role as flower girl with extreme seriousness. There was no press. No society pages. No elaborate reception for business contacts. Just people who genuinely cared about them, celebrating a love that had survived impossible odds. After the ceremony, as the sun set over Puget Sound, Alex stood with his new wife and daughter watching the water turn gold and pink. Do you have any regrets? Isabel asked quietly. About how everything happened. About the time we lost. I regret that you had to go through what you did. I regret that Sophia's first 5 years were marked by fear and instability. But the outcome? He pulled her closer. No. I don't regret where we ended up. Even though you can't remember everything? The house. Their house now officially. Alex felt something he hadn't felt in years, possibly not since before his accident. His life before had been all achievement and ambition, driving toward goals set by others' expectations. This life, with a daughter who needed him, a wife who chose him not for his money but for who he actually was, and a future built on truth instead of carefully constructed image, this was real. Epilogue, 1 year later. 1 year after their beach proposal, Alex and Isabel stood in the yard of their new home, a smaller property than his original estate, in a family-friendly neighborhood with good schools and other children for Sophia to play with. They'd planted a garden together. Isabel had insisted on it. Something we build together, she'd said. Something that grows. Now that garden was blooming, roses, lavender, tomatoes, herbs. Sophia helped by digging holes in random places and announcing she was planting magic beans that would grow into beanstalks. Alex had stepped back from the CEO role at Pierce Industries, appointing Melissa to take over while he focused on launching his new venture, a privacy-focused tech company that developed encryption tools for domestic violence victims and people in witness protection. If someone had given your mother tools to hide more effectively from my father, he told Isabel when explaining the business concept, maybe those years would have been easier. I want to build that for other people. The company was called Sanctuary Tech. It wasn't as profitable as Vanguard had been, but it was infinitely more meaningful. Isabel's design business had grown to the point where she needed to hire employees. She worked from a home office, setting her own hours, taking on projects she actually cared about instead of whatever paid the bills. But most importantly, they were happy. Not the frantic, urgent happiness of new love. The deeper, quieter happiness of partnership. Of knowing someone completely and choosing them anyway. Of building something together day by day. One evening, as they sat on their back porch watching Sophia chase fireflies, Isabel leaned against Alex's shoulder. Do you ever wonder what our lives would have been like if the accident never happened? If we'd gotten married back then and none of this had occurred? Sometimes, Alex admitted. But I think we're better off now. Strange as that sounds. How so? We didn't get to choose each other the first time, not really. We fell in love quickly, got swept up in intensity, and then everything was stolen before we could build a foundation. This time, we chose each other knowing the worst of what life can throw at us. We chose each other after loss and trauma and years apart. That's a stronger foundation. Very philosophical for a tech billionaire. Former tech billionaire. Current father and husband who occasionally does tech stuff on the side. She laughed and kissed his cheek. I prefer this version. Me too. Sophia ran over, holding a jar with 2 fireflies inside. Look, I caught them. Can I keep them? Only for tonight, Isabel said gently. In the morning we'll let them go. They need to be free to find their families. Like mommy found you again? Sophia looked at Alex. Exactly like that. Okay. But can I show them my room first? Of course. Go ahead. As Sophia ran inside with her jar of fireflies, Alex pulled Isabel closer. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up. For protecting Sophia all those years. For giving me a second chance even when I couldn't remember the first one. For building this life with me. You don't have to thank me for loving you, Alex. That part was always easy. Everything else, that was just logistics. He smiled. Logistics that nearly broke you. But didn't. We're both stronger than we thought. Sophia too. She's incredible. Like her mother. She has your stubbornness. And your analytical mind. This morning she informed me that if we plant the tomatoes 2 inches further apart, we'll get 17% more yield per square foot. Did she show her calculations? She drew a diagram. That's my girl. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun finished setting and the first stars appeared. Inside they could hear Sophia talking to her fireflies, telling them about her day. This was it, Alex thought. This was what his younger self had been trying to build before the accident. Not wealth or status or achievement. Just this. A family that chose each other, loved each other, and built something beautiful together despite every obstacle thrown in their way. His father had taken a year of his memories. But in doing so, Gerald had inadvertently given Alex something better. The chance to fall in love with the same woman twice, to appreciate what he had because he knew what it was like to lose it, and to build a life based not on expectation or obligation but on genuine choice. What are you thinking about? Isabel asked. That I'm the luckiest person alive. Even without your memories? Especially without my memories. Because I got to discover you all over again. And I'd choose you every single time. Isabel kissed him, slow and sweet, tasting of the wine they'd been drinking and the promise of all their tomorrows. We should probably go inside, she said eventually. Sophia's supposed to be getting ready for bed, not conducting science experiments with insects. 5 more minutes. I just want to sit here with you. 5 more minutes, she agreed. And in those 5 minutes, with his wife beside him and his daughter's laughter drifting through the open window, Alexander Pierce finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a house or a place or a memory, but a feeling. The feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be, with exactly who you're supposed to be with. Finally, completely, undeniably home. So that's the complete story of Alexander Pierce, Isabel Donovan and little Sophia. A family torn apart by manipulation and memory loss, but brought back together by a 5-year-old's courage and a mother's desperate hope. This story shows us several powerful truths. First, that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes the people who should protect us are the ones who hurt us most. Second, that memory doesn't define love. Alex fell in love with Isabel twice, proving that genuine connection transcends what we consciously remember. And third, that courage comes in many forms, from a child walking through a storm to find her father, to a woman choosing to trust again after years of fear. The key takeaways. Traumatic brain injury can erase years of memories, but the people who love you remain. Controlling families can weaponize medical crises to manipulate your entire future. Standing up to powerful people is terrifying but necessary. Second chances are possible. Even after years of separation, building a family is always a choice, and choosing each other is the foundation of everything. This video took over 22 hours to research, write, and produce. We verified the medical accuracy of TBI and memory loss, consulted with family law experts about paternity and custody issues, and crafted every emotional beat to honor the real experiences of people who've lived through similar circumstances. If this story moved you, if it made you think about family and memory and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support makes it possible for us to keep telling stories that matter. What happens to them now? Based on the last update I received, they're thriving. Sophia is 7 years old, excelling in school, and has absolutely no memory of those frightening early years. Alex's company, Sanctuary Tech, has helped over 10,000 people hide safely from abusers and stalkers. Isabel's design firm employs 12 people and specializes in branding for nonprofits. And Alex's father, Gerald, lives in isolation, estranged from the family he tried so hard to control. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well. Before you go, Hit that like button if this story moved you. Subscribe for more deep dive investigations into extraordinary true stories. Comment below. Could you fall in love with someone who had completely forgotten you? Would you give them a second chance? Share this with someone who needs to hear that second chances are real. Coming next week, the story of a woman who discovered her perfect husband was living a double life, with another wife, another family, and another identity. The investigation that followed revealed something even more shocking than bigamy. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for watching, thank you for being part of this community, and remember, the people worth loving are the ones who choose you even when circumstances make it difficult. Until next time.